and welcome to this stream. It'll be a quick one. This is your captain speaking, I guess you could say. Captain Smarzel Skirts. My real name's Dan. Anyway, I just, fairly recently bought another Beluga, which is a really huge ship. It's the largest pilotable ship in the game. Elite Dangerous, the Horizons edition. And traditionally, it is meant to be a passenger liner, a luxury passenger liner. You book various passengers and you take them on adventures wherever or in various places, either for a tour and then back to the place of origin, or you basically serve as a ferry from one place to another. Now, given that, I have not done that with this particular Beluga. This Beluga has weapons layouts. A weapons layout that has a bunch of multi-cannons, lasers, and some defensive stuff going on. And I came to the station where I am now, the Longsight base, so I could get some engineering upgrades on my frameshift drive, the drive in the ship that allows me to travel from one system to another, like through hyperspace, if you want to call it. Now, as the ship was purchased, traditionally, I'm not sure if that's a word to use, but stock, I believe the frameshift drive has a range of probably something like, I'd like to say maybe 15 light years. Maybe a little more. I upgraded the frameshift drive to an A class for the same size to take it to 21. And then I threw in all the weapons and it went back down to 18. And I came over to Longsight base to visit an engineer by the name of Elvira, who you can see here. And she offers several different types of upgrades to her ship, to various modules. Engines, which are thrusters really, the shield generator, which generates a shield around your ship to protect it from thermal energy type weapons like lasers and things of that nature. Shield cell banks, which are consumable items that will extend the period of your shields. And finally, your frameshift drive. Now, I have a Class 5 upgrade on it already, which means that particular upgrade is already complete. Actually, it is not complete, I'm sorry. So for this particular ship, I am on a stage 5. I can proceed to make the modifications for that stage. However, I have insufficient resources. I need, of all things, Arsenic, because I'm out of Arsenic, and I also need some other components, because while I have 3 of those other components left, I will definitely need more than 3 to complete the stage 5 build out of this modification, which is to increase the frameshift drive range. Now, taking this in this case, there are other modifications that can be made. Say, faster frameshift drive boot sequence in case you restart the ship, or shielded frameshift drive to further protect it from damage, so the module can take some damage during, say, combat. Now, that would have probably been the smarter thing to do for me, given that this is technically going to be a combat vessel, but I'm not actually too worried about that, because I figure if the ship itself is going to go, then the frameshift drive is probably going to go anyway. So that's a moot point. I might change that up in the future. Be that as it may, what I was trying to say after all that is that given the modifications made for the range, I cannot apply either of the other 2 modifications, the boot sequence and the shielded frameshift drive, without voiding all of this. But the engineer is here to help you out, to try to increase what you've already got in your ship. So, and there are various engineers that do various things. As stated, Elvira, she takes care of thrusters, shield generators, shield cell banks, and frameshift drives. There's another one, last name Farseer, I believe, and she can take care of also frameshift drive stuff. She can also take care of, let's see what she got here. I don't recall off the top of my head. I've only done this a little bit. I've got her pinned for boot sequence modification. I think she also does, oh, it says right up there, thrusters. So if I wanted to take her, to see her for any thrusters modifications, I can go see her. But that, of course, requires for me to travel to her planet, her location. And then I can get that done. Okay, so all that said and done, I've completed the modifications that I wanted to make up to the extent that I can. So what I'll do is go back to Walker Ring, or Wheeler Ring, excuse me, which is where I have my other beluga that I took to get the location stored. That my passenger beluga. And I have my other ships. They're at yet another station, the Kogia hub, where I sort of made my home station. But a friend of mine coaxed me out to Wheeler so that we could do some combat-related activities. So now that I've finished up here, I am going to launch. And this is going to be a planetary liftoff as opposed to a launch from a space station. Long Sight Base. And as you can see, the letters on the front have changed. Well, they aren't really changed, they're different on this ship. It's the name of the ship, actually.
Takeoff procedure complete. Clear for departure.
It is called Perrin. And that is a Czech word that is loosely translated the word for, like, the god of thunder, lightning, fertility of all things. But I figure, given that it's a combat ship, I figure it might be worthy of a name that would allude to that. So, and just like the other ship, the Purple Porpoise XL, I have also colored this purple, so it is technically the Purple Perrin, as you can kind of tell. And I've given it the exact same paint job and the exact same body kit modifications. So it otherwise looks identical to the Purple Porpoise XL. It just has a different arrangement of weapons and onboard equipment. And given that this is not a passenger vessel, well, it is technically, but it is built out to be a combat vessel, I did not include an auto-docking module, so I could free up some space for other things. Anywho, let me get a routing here. Let's plot back to the Wheeler hub, or the Wheeler ring. Walker, I said Walker initially. Walker ring, so please forgive me. It's late, and I haven't had coffee all day, except for early morning. And there's a glitch. Let's try this. Gertrude? That doesn't sound right. Is it in Gertrude? I think it is, but I thought it might be. Let's plot this way. There we go. So it is in Gertrude. Okay. Alright, so we know where the jump point is. It's over this way. And we came from down there. Alright, let's do a jump.
Frameshift drive charging.
And as you can see, there are 6 jumps to get to Gertrude. When I was on the way here, before the modifications... Oh. I'm aligned with the trajectory. Well, that was unexpected. Okay. I don't know what happened there. It's kind of like in Star Wars when Han Solo says to Leia, Princess Leia on the Millennium Falcon, Episode 4, or maybe Episode 5, watch this, and the hyperspace drive goes out of commission on him, and she says, watch what? And, yeah, let's see if I can actually get out of here.
Frameshift drive charging. Ready to engage.
Okay. Huh.
Engage. Warning, taking heat damage.
Okay. Well, that tells me that we're not getting enough thrust, and we need to make the thermals a little lower. I mean, the thermals are already pretty... Oop, there are thermals already pretty bad on the ship from the outset. But I need to gather more materials in order for the thermal modifications to be added. Not a huge deal in the short term. But let's do this. Alright, so we're in Super Cruise mode in the Kuan system where the engineer is. We're going to be jumping down to Cephia Sector FWW 313. That will finally be our first stop.
Frameshift drive charging.
I just hope it becomes that without us having to fry eggs or something on the dashboard. And survey says...
3, 2, 1. Engage. Fuel scooping.
Fuel scooping. Okay. Quick load run. Don't really need to worry about fuel because there are only
Disengaged.
6 short hops. And we'll hip hop over to hip 2453 next. Let's give it a... But first, let's take a look at the sun behind us. Actually, I can just do this. Kind of like these dramatic-ish kind of scale back, reverse camera angle kind of things. In a world where someone flies a purple ship. Anyway, next we'll go to hip 2453.
Frameshift drive charging. drive charging.
Oops, excuse me.
3, 2, 1.
So now, the reason why I wait for the ship to move away from the sun before I jump, the jumping generates heat. So as it warms up, and when you're already next to a sun, or a star, which obviously generates a ton of heat, you're only adding on to the misery that you already have, even if it's a red star like this. So I just wait for the temperature, which is indicated by the gauge on the left hand of the circle there, the big circle in the middle, which is now at roughly 36, 35%, 34%. So I figure anything below 40% on this ship is probably safe to enter into a jump again. So why don't we do that now?
Frameshift drive charging.
And good old 32 light years. I think that's actually more than my passenger ship. That's interesting.
3, 2, 1.
We'll have to double check that after I get back, but maybe they're roughly the same. Although I did go on a very grueling,
Fuel scoping.
roughly 4,000 light year round trip earlier today, with 4 passengers, 3 of them being fairly local to where I was, and then this one passenger I decided, okay, I'm going to take them out to this place, the Gem, or Celestial Gem, or something like that, in a relatively to me, far out system. So 1900
Fuel
some odd,
scope disengaged.
1900 some odd light years away. Absolutely no problems. No interdictions like interceptions by any other ships, no accidental run-ins to stars causing me to get burnt up, nothing like that. No getting fired upon by anybody. But then I get into a little tiny combat vessel that I bought just on a lark to get to a place where I could pick up combat missions with a friend,
Frameshift drive charging.
and decided to deck it out a little bit so it had some protection and some firepower. Nothing like what my friend has. And naturally I get down to like 10% hull integrity. Ship's pretty much, on a shoestring, being held by, a couple of pieces of wire or something. And alarms are blaring, and I said, I have a lot more credits than, this ship is worth. It would take me longer to fly back to the station to get it repaired than it would just to ram the ship into an asteroid. So I rammed it into an asteroid, respawned at the station, and yeah, that was the extent of that.
Fuel scope disengaged.
That ship. And then with this particular ship, I did take it out on a combat mission before it was really prepared, and it isn't prepared now. This ship got down to about 10% hull capacity. The rebuy cost is much higher. Like, there's insurance in this universe, which is more of like a one-time payment if the ship gets destroyed. And that cost varies from ship to ship. It's usually like about 1/10 of the initial cost. So like, let's say this ship is 84 million credits, they're about maybe 81. So the rebuy value would be something like 8.1 or 8.4 million credits. The
Frameshift drive charging.
ship that I bought just to try out combat and try to do some training maneuvers was something like maybe 500,000 credits total. So really not that much, comparatively. But in both cases, there's a lot to be said that could be improved about each. But I do like the layout I have on this one.
Fuel scooping.
Got I think 2 pulse cannons on the top, 2 gimbaled pulse cannons, and I've got, whoop, there we go.
Fuel scoop disengaged.
Okay, there's the walker ring. So I've got 2 of those, and I think I have 3 multi-cannons on the bottom. One of them supports multi-crew, so if I have a player here who goes into my ship, they can take over as a gunner for one of the multi-cannons, which is kind of neat. I also have a few other modules here while we're waiting. Whoop. So I've got an autofield maintenance unit which hardens up the modules a bit, so it helps from them from losing integrity in the case that they receive damage. Let's see. I have support. That's not important, right? So I've got a kill warrant scanner which searches for, say, any pirates, so I can get some increased bounties. I've got the multi-cannons which are disabled, some pulse lasers. There's a multi-cannon, I'm assuming, on the bottom of the ship. And then I've got a few other things. Chaff launcher, heat sink launcher, that basically I use to say if I run into a case where I have thermal overload, like the case was when I was trying to take off of the planet, I can launch a heat sink which will take all the heat energy away and shoot it out into space. But that's something that is a replenishable module, so as you consume it, it needs to be replaced. Eventually, it's not just a one-time thing, you have 2 of them. So now I have 1 left. I'll replenish that when I get back home, so to speak. And some of the more typical things like power plant, cockpit, canopy stuff, data link scanner, composition scanner, say if I wanted to do any exploration. Module reinforcement packages also to help the integrity of the modules in case there is damage. Hull reinforcement, which does much the same but for the hull. But again, what is one of the notably missing things is the advanced auto-docking module. So I will have to park this ship manually. And when we get there, I really hope there isn't a lot of traffic. So we've got a little ways to go. You can see the nice little model of the space station, that little white graphic in the lower left-hand corner at the edge of the bridge window. It's got a couple of different rings and some kind of pod at the left-hand side. And the entrance is the mail slot, which is going to be on, relative to that graphic, it's going to be on the right-hand side. And my ship will barely be able to fit through, but we'll make it fit. Okay. Some chatter on the screen there. I've got someone else coming in, probably an NPC up on the right here. You can see their engine trail. At least I hope they're not interdicting me. We'll see. So far, so good. And there's a station. There's the pod.
South Cruiser Zulu, Mike Romeo.
And
Flight control channel open.
oh, actually, I stand corrected.
Protocols if you wish to land.
The mail slot is over in this direction, which is where I'm heading now. So the pod I was referring to is actually the area where all the ships are parked. So first I will put myself into a good enough position where I can orient myself toward the slot, and then I will call for a dock. Now, the autodock computer is really handy in terms of efficiently getting the ship in. Unfortunately, it's very janky. It's very kind of blocky. Like, the steering is very abrupt, and given that I travel by sight, looking through this window, I have a very hard time. Whoop.
Flight assist off. Flight assist on.
That was a close call. I almost flew into the station before I requested the dock.
Landing permission granted. Assigned to landing pad 17.
Wait for this fellow.
Flight assist off. Flight assist on.
I accidentally hit the Z key a few times.
Detected.
Alright, let's go. Looks like we're clear.
Approach vector is good.
Thank you. Alright, so let's see, our landing pad is 17, which is, thankfully, not too far away. Drop the landing gear, and this is the fun part. And by fun part, I mean probably the most elusive part.
300 meters from touchdown.
That's good to know. Alright. What? I just got fined. Probably because I was blocking someone. That's okay. I can cover that. So you see a little red dot, maybe? You can see it? I have to line it up with that little black dot right there. And of course I just moved out of the way again. Yeah. Okay. This is where we might have a bit of an issue. Okay. Huh. Well, we did it somehow.
Contact. Engines disengaged.
Okay. Apparently I didn't get fined because otherwise I wouldn't be able to use these two utilities here to refuel and to repair. That's all my combat mission stuff. Let's see. Nope. No fines. Okay, we're good. So, yeah. Alright, so we have landed. And we're good. We're good. Well, that was a fun trip. And thanks for watching.